The moment everyone feared has finally arrived. King's Landing is no longer the untouchable heart of the Targaryen dynasty. The city that once represented power, wealth, and control is now becoming the battlefield where loyalty breaks, alliances collapse, and the future of Westeros is decided. In House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 4, the war between Rhaenyra and Aegon is reaching a dangerous turning point, and the question is no longer who will sit on the Iron Throne, but whether there will be anything left to rule when the war is over. After the shocking events of the previous episodes, the balance of power in Westeros has completely changed. The Dance of the Dragons is no longer a conflict hidden behind political conversations and secret negotiations. It has become a brutal war where every decision carries a deadly price. Season 3, Episode 4 pushes the story deeper into chaos as King's Landing begins to lose the stability it once had under the Green Council. The city is surrounded by fear, hunger, and uncertainty, and the people who once praised the Targaryens are beginning to question whether their rulers can protect them. The biggest change we see in this episode is the growing weakness inside King's Landing itself. Aegon II may have the crown, but wearing the crown does not mean having true control. The young king is trapped between the expectations of his supporters, the pressure from his family, and the consequences of decisions made during the war. Every move he makes creates new enemies, and every mistake gives Rhaenyra's side another opportunity to strike. For years, King's Landing was seen as the strongest symbol of the Green faction's power. The city had the Iron Throne, the Red Keep, and the support of powerful families. But Episode 4 shows that a kingdom can fall from the inside before it falls from outside forces. The streets become filled with tension as ordinary people suffer because of the choices made by nobles fighting for power. The small folk, who were ignored by both sides, begin to realize that the war between dragons is destroying their lives. This episode also highlights the difference between Rhaenyra's strategy and Aegon's approach. Rhaenyra understands that winning the war is not only about defeating armies, it is also about proving that she is the rightful ruler who can bring order back to the realm. Her challenge is convincing people that she is not just fighting for revenge, but for the future of the kingdom. Meanwhile, Aegon's position becomes more complicated. The pressure around him continues to grow, and the people closest to him start questioning his ability to lead. The Green Council members have their own plans, and not everyone is fighting for the same reason. Some want power, some want survival, and some want to protect the traditions that have controlled Westeros for generations. The real danger for King's Landing is not just Rhaenyra's army approaching from outside. The greatest threat is the division within the city itself. When a kingdom loses faith in its ruler, even the strongest walls cannot guarantee safety. Episode 4 explores this idea by showing how fear spreads faster than any army. Another major focus of this episode is the emotional cost of the war. The Targaryens are fighting for a throne that was built by their own ancestors, yet they are destroying the very family that created it. Brothers turn against brothers, children inherit the anger of their parents, and old friendships disappear because of political ambition. The conflict between Rhaenyra and Aegon is becoming more personal with every episode. This is no longer just a fight between two claimants. It is a tragedy about a family that allowed power to become more important than love and loyalty. Episode 4 reminds viewers that the Iron Throne does not simply create rulers, it creates sacrifices. As King's Landing begins to lose control, the question becomes whether the city can survive the coming storm. The Greens still have powerful allies, experienced warriors, and their own dragons, but their biggest weakness is the growing uncertainty among their own people. A kingdom built on fear can only stand for so long, and as the flames of war continue spreading across Westeros, one thing becomes clear. The fall of King's Landing may not happen in a single moment. It may happen slowly, through broken alliances, lost trust, and the choices of those who believe they are fighting for victory. But the most shocking developments are still ahead. Because as Episode 4 reaches its darkest moments, the battle for the Iron Throne enters a phase where even the strongest players can lose everything. The situation inside King's Landing becomes even more dangerous as the pressure on the Greens reaches a breaking point. The people who once looked toward the Red Keep as a symbol of strength now see a government struggling to maintain control. The longer the war continues, the harder it becomes for Aegon and his supporters to convince the people that they are leading the realm toward victory. Episode 4 reveals a powerful truth about the Dance of the Dragons. Armies can fight battles, but kingdoms are won through influence, loyalty, and fear. Rhaenyra's greatest advantage is not only her claim to the throne or the dragons that support her, it is the growing belief among many that the Greens are losing their grip. Once people begin to doubt their rulers, rebuilding that trust becomes almost impossible. The tension surrounding Aegon becomes one of the most important parts of this episode. His dream of being king is replaced by the harsh reality of ruling during a civil war. The crown that once represented glory now feels like a burden. Every decision carries consequences, and every person around him has their own hidden motives. Aegon's struggle is not only against Rhaenyra. He is also fighting against the expectations placed on him by his own family. The people around him want a strong king, but they also want a king they can control. This creates a dangerous situation where Aegon must decide whether he will become the ruler others want him to be or the ruler he believes he should become. At the same time, Rhaenyra faces her own challenges. Although the weakness of King's Landing gives her an advantage, taking the city is not as simple as winning a battle. She knows that destroying the capital would also mean destroying the heart of the realm she wants to rule. A true victory requires more than defeating enemies. It requires rebuilding what has been broken. This is what makes the conflict between Rhaenyra and Aegon so tragic. Both sides believe they are fighting for the future of Westeros, but their actions are pushing the kingdom closer to destruction. Every victory comes with a loss, and every step toward the Iron Throne creates more suffering. One of the most interesting parts of Episode 4 is how the episode shows the changing relationship between power and loyalty. Many characters who once seemed completely committed to one side begin questioning their choices. In a war where survival becomes the main goal, loyalty becomes something fragile. The nobles of Westeros understand that choosing the wrong side could mean losing everything. Houses that once supported the Greens may begin looking for opportunities to protect themselves. Meanwhile, those supporting Rhaenyra must also prove that their cause is strong enough to survive the challenges ahead. The dragons remain the greatest weapon in this war, but Episode 4 reminds viewers that dragons alone cannot guarantee victory. A dragon can destroy an army, but it cannot force people to love their ruler. It can burn castles, but it cannot rebuild trust. The Targaryens have the most powerful creatures in the world, yet they are still vulnerable because of their own mistakes. As King's Landing begins to collapse from within, the atmosphere becomes darker and more unpredictable. The city is no longer just a location where political decisions are made. It becomes a symbol of everything the Targaryens are fighting over and everything they are risking losing. The people of Westeros wanted stability after years of uncertainty, but the war between the Greens and Blacks has created the exact opposite. The realm is divided, families are destroyed, and the dream of a united kingdom feels further away than ever. Episode 4 also sets the stage for even greater conflicts ahead. The fall of King's Landing is not simply about losing a city, it represents the beginning of a new chapter in the war. Once the capital becomes vulnerable, every alliance, every promise, and every strategy will be tested. The question now is not whether the Targaryen civil war will become more brutal. That answer is already clear. The real question is how much Westeros will have to sacrifice before someone finally wins. Because in the world of House of the Dragon, victory never comes without a price. The Iron Throne may belong to one person in the end, but the path toward it will leave countless lives destroyed. As Season 3 continues, the battle for King's Landing will become more than a fight between two rulers. It will become a fight between ambition and responsibility, revenge and forgiveness, power and survival. And with the city standing on the edge of collapse, the next moves from Rhaenyra, Aegon, and the families supporting them could decide the fate of the entire realm. The war has entered its most dangerous stage, and the game for the Iron Throne has never been more unpredictable.